Sure. My name is Daniel McDonough. I'm the cellist of the Jupiter String Quartet, and I'm aware that this is a documentary for Madeline Island Music Camp, and I approve of the use of my interview.
Thank you very much. All right. How long have you been coming up here to Madeline Island?
You know, I was trying to remember. I think this is either our third or fourth summer. I think it's our fourth summer now. It's a wonderful place. We've always enjoyed coming here.
One other thing I should say, my questions will not be in the interview, so if you were to give me a yes or no answer, it would be not very interesting.
I see.
Yeah.
So I'll
You're doing good so far.
okay. All right.
So, are there some particular qualities about the island that you appreciate?
Oh, it's a beautiful place to have a music festival. There's a kind of a rich tradition of these training grounds for young musicians taking place in these kind of idyllic, spectacular settings. There's something about going somewhere remote and gorgeous and immersing yourself in music and art and being around people who share your love of what you do and of this great music. And it somehow creates this wonderful working atmosphere to build on your studies that happen during the year in a different kind of setting.
What attracted you to come up here and be a visiting faculty to this institution?
I knew of Madeline Island for a very long time, even when I was a student. I never was able to come here because I grew up in the South, so it was quite far away for me. But I had always known of it for being a teacher, and when they asked us to come teach here, of course we jumped at the opportunity. The students here are amazing. The high schoolers through the graduate students, all of them are some of the best players in the country, so it's quite a joy to get to work with them.
Did you say the camp has a reputation?
Yeah, oh, wonderful reputation, yeah. What's nice about it is it's intimate. I mean, there's something like 48 students, and that you can't take any more than that, and what's great about that is you get to know all of them in a way. And because it's chamber music making, there's a real intimacy and camaraderie among all of the students, and it's quite nice that it's mixed levels or ages also. So the high school musicians get to watch the college guys at work, and even the college students get to see the graduate students, the fellowship students working. So there's a lot to learn from their peers.
Is there something unusual or unique about a music camp or a music festival or school devoting yourself exclusively to chamber music?
Well, there are a handful of places that are exclusively chamber music, but yeah, there are fewer of these types of camps than the big orchestral places that also, of course, have some chamber music studies. But these, Madeline Island in particular, focuses specifically on string quartets. I mean, everybody is in a string quartet. So for me, of course, since I'm in a professional quartet, that's where the greatest repertoire lies in that combination of instruments. So to come here, and the students work on the best of the string quartet repertoire. There's not a single quartet here that's a student quartet here that's not working on really the finest of Schubert, Beethoven, Mendelssohn, Ravel. So all of the great masterpieces are being studied here. No one is being, there's no group that's not being challenged, which I think is really exciting, and they're all living up to it too.
So expand a little bit on this notion that I've noticed that some of the very greatest composers in Western civilization seem to devote a lot of energy to the composition of string quartets. Is that true? Could you comment on that?
Yeah. that it seems like composers really turn to the string quartet often, not every composer, but to really express and put their finest work into those kinds of compositions. It sort of started with Haydn, who wrote a lot of string quartets and really developed the form, and then Beethoven from there, I think. And what Beethoven did with the quartet was intimidating. His innermost feeling went into his string quartets. There's something incredibly personal about the writing. And I think once he did that, he kind of set the bar so high that composers really felt that the quartet was going to be the place where they would have to do their finest work. And I think it's something about the intimacy, also the ability for the four instruments to blend and make a really homogeneous sound, but also the ability for each of the instruments to stand out. It's the four-part writing also, I think, is the most, there's something kind of pure and elemental about that also.
To that point about, you mentioned Beethoven.
Yeah.
I read enough about Beethoven to know he suffered a lot from a lot of different things. Do we see that he gained insights from that?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you listen to Beethoven, especially the later quartets, you sense him struggling against his fate or his destiny, these personal ills and these troubles that he had in his private life. I think you really feel him trying to fight through it in his music in a way. And there's a triumph of the human spirit that comes through that all of us relate to. All of the musicians, I think, and listeners really find powerful in his music.
Yeah, I think there's a real spirituality to it, and not in the traditional sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's a kind of a deep spiritualism or mysticism in his music. I really, unlike any other composer, and the people who followed him really were amazed at what he could do with four instruments. Just four instruments. Of course, he did it with the Ninth Symphony, and he had a chorus, and he had, a full complement of different types of sounds to make. But when he did it with the string quartets, there was an intimacy that had a different kind of personal, spiritual exploration in it.
I myself am not I'm an agnostic, yet I find in music, that there's some kind of higher force, that, if you will, almost the echoes of the beating heart of God in some of that music. Do you ever get feelings like that from music?
Yeah, for me, that's where my spirituality is in the music somehow. The way that we can commune with each other, with performers, to audience, to students, to the community, through this music, to share it with them. And that's one of the things that I work on with the students, is kind of realizing that all the hard work that we do in the practice room, which can seem, I don't know, it can be frustrating sometimes. It's easy to lose sight that the reason we work so hard is because we want to kind of present and share the most beautiful form of this music that we can possibly imagine and that we can create or bring to life. We didn't create it, we just bring it to life.
So here's another thought I have, again, not as a musician, but as a great appreciator of this kind of music. If you just play the music exactly according to the directions of the composer, it's metronomically, is there a difference between doing that and don't you have to inject a little of yourself into it? How do you find the right spot between the markings of the composer and your own emotions and feelings?
That's a great question. Yeah. Yeah, of course, there's a limit to what they can tell us. They have a certain amount of markings that they can use, and then it's our job to kind of interpret them. And we do that based on our own history with that composer's music, also with other composers' musics, with the composer's personal lives as best as we can know what was going on in them, history, all of these things. And then we bring also our own experience, our own human experience to the rehearsals as well, our own kind of visceral reactions. We've got a truck.
There's always something. Let's wait till you go. I'm rolling.
Yeah, I think that's the role of the performer or the interpreter is to try to get to the heart of what we see on the page. I mean, you can play very literally, and we try to honor everything we can that we see on the page, with the understanding that the composer, above all, wants to move people or wants us to connect with other people through the music. So we have to bring our interpretation of it into the rehearsals and onto the stage to make that happen.
What do you hope to impart on the students in the week that you're with them?
Well, a lot of things. Above all, I want them to have a rich experience with the music, but also learn how to be better communicators, both with each other and with listeners. Be better interpreters of what they see on the page, more communicative performers. And I want them to feel refreshed. That's the nice thing about summer festivals, is you get out of your usual routine. You leave your normal school where you have your peers and your teachers that you're used to, and you go somewhere and you meet new people and you get new ideas, and you bring those ideas back to where you were and you kind of pollinate that way. So it's another way for musicians to kind of share all of our experiences with this great music with each other. And I hope that they'll have some inspiration after these 4 weeks or 3 weeks, and they'll share that with others in that way.
Why do you think the humanities and the arts are important in this, in these, well, in all times in Western civilization, but maybe particularly in these times?
I think they teach us about what it means to be alive more than anything else. I mean, we have these own struggles at the university where I teach. I mean, trying to I mean, it's not always a profitable enterprise. I mean, but somehow I don't feel like there's a point to doing, I don't know. There's not a reason to live without this stuff. It helps us understand each other and how we interact with the world and nature and music and all of this. I think it's life would be quite dull without it.
So, what do you think accounts for the fact this institution has survived for 30 years? It's a tenuous thing to create a music camp on an island.
Well, I think it's a testament to the administration and the support of the community and the sponsors of the festival. They probably see how much it means to the students and also the faculty to have the opportunity to work with such great students, that it's an important part of this region, not only this island, but probably, this whole area, bringing arts into the community and bringing students from all over the country up to Wisconsin to commune together and share this stuff.
It does strike me, that it's so admirable. You see these young people. They're not taking business. They're not looking for ways they're going to make $1 billion defrauding the public. They're putting all their time and this intense focus on something that will never make them rich. So there must be a fulfillment that goes a lot deeper than just acquiring material goods.
Yeah. I think a lot of musicians find that they just have to do music in a way. Like, it's not that music finds them instead of them kind of seeking it out. It becomes like a calling in a way. And of course, not every student will become a professional musician. But even so, they're learning something here about kind of working together with others. That's what chamber music teaches you more than anything, is how to navigate very intimate relationships and work out problems and come to a beautiful solution, which is, in this case, a performance of great music, without a lot of guidance. I mean, we help them along the way, but they rehearse alone every day, and they take the advice we give them and they come to their own interpretation of the piece.
It's just kind of interesting in this day and age, again, of oscillating, rapidly changing tastes and pop culture, that there's this cohort of young people that still are devoted to classical music.
Yeah, it does. Classical music seems to have staying power, doesn't it? I mean, there's always, the Chicken Little folks who say that it's dying, but I think it will be here to stay, and I actually think chamber music is growing. People see and relate to the intimacy of it, and the four people on stage without a leader really finding their way together is a very exciting and intimate thing to watch and listen to. So I don't worry about rapidly changing tastes and styles affecting classical music, especially chamber music. I think it will be here because it's so it so wonderfully describes what it's like to be alive, I think.
Last question is, when I think of the development of musical instruments, could it not be said that before there were string quartets, there were like the French had a chausson? Is that how you say it? Is there a parallel between the voices that used to just sing, and especially when you think of stringed instrument and the vocal cords? Is there something that you could develop on that?
Sure. I mean, we all talk a lot to our students about using the human voice as a really direct way of getting to the expression we want to bring to our instruments. So I think that it's a very singing is the most natural way of expressing beautiful music and beautiful phrasing and line. So I'm constantly encouraging my students to sing. Of course, singing is the original kind of music. And the string quartet is like soprano, alto, tenor, bass in a way. I mean, it's 4-part singing. Not every piece is always a kind of singing piece, but if we take that as a kind of foundation, I think that there's a directness to the way we can communicate the pieces.
Is there one instrument more than any other that resembles in your to your way?
Oh,
of
the
thinking?
cello for sure.
Say that in a sentence, though, 'cause I,
But of course, the cello is the most vocal of all the instruments. I'm biased.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to say about the camp or about the setting?
No, this
or-
was a thorough. I mean, I think you asked the right questions.
Well, I think of one more now.
Okay.
The students.
Yeah.
My impression of these students is, wow, they're so purposeful. They have a lot of fun up here, but they're really devoted to their music. These are not kind of the ordinary cross section. So could you say something
Right.
about the students?
Yeah, I mean, this is not the kind of summer camp where you come and you're just kind of having a great time and wasting away your July in the heat of the summer. I mean, these are serious musicians with real dedication to their art form. I mean, but they get so much joy out of it. They've constantly got Brahms sextets playing on their iPhones, and they're talking about fingerings, and I mean, it's so wonderful how enthusiastic they are about this music. There's something so fresh about their love for it, and it makes being a teacher just wonderful. And you never feel like you're struggling in a lesson. It's like they're so eager for every bit of advice you can give them.
Very good. That was a good interview.
Okay, okay.